A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams is a play revolving around the current lifestyle of Blanche, Stanley, and Stella. When Stella's entitled sister Blanche comes to live with her and her husband Stanley, this threesome encounters many obstacles. Blanche comes to New Orleans to live with her sister as she has just lost everything. She is a compulsive liar and immediately breaks the trust between herself and Stanley. Their constant bumping heads creates a split in the household, leaving Stella in the middle. Blanche tries to convince Stella that Stanley is an abusive animal, and Stanley tells her that Blanche is a crazy liar who cannot be trusted. Stella does not know who to believe, but tends to lean more towards her husband, as Blanche is not completely mentally stable. This working class versus high class play leaves the reader in constant suspense, as it is impossible to predict the next crazy thing that will happen.
A Streetcar Named Desire took place in the poor yet unique city of New Orleans, Louisiana, more specifically in the French sector of town. Stanley and his wife Stella live in a 2-bedroom apartment in a less fortunate part of town. However, they make the most of what they have. When Stella's sister Blanche comes to visit from Belle Reeves, a significantly nicer area, she is almost disgusted by the environment her sister lives in. More specifically, they live in a very culturally divided part of town, on a street named Elysian Fields, where a lot of racism and cultural disassociation is seen. Although there is a lot of segregation between races, the town is known for its extreme diversity, which is something that Blanche is not necessarily accustomed to. She often makes remarks about their poverty, class, style of life, and race, which she has to adjust herself to. Overall, A Streetcar Named Desire takes place in a poor area of New Orleans where there is significant history, culture, and art.
In the past, it was always seen that men were in charge of everything, and women should just do the housework and comply. Now, there are still things that need to be changed, but male and female equality has greatly evolved. In A Streetcar Named Desire, it is clear that the men are able to get away with a lot. For example, a woman got hit by a man more than once throughout the play. This was not shown as unacceptable, but was perceived as okay since the women always went back to them as if nothing happened. Not only this, but there were many circumstances where the men made a comment about how the women were not allowed to be involved in whatever they were doing. In May, an extremely restrictive abortion law was passed in Alabama banning fetal termination. This bill was passed by 25 men. Whether a woman does something to her own body should be her decision, not up to men who have no relation to the subject in question. Equality has sadly been an issue in our society for many years and still has a long way to go. Men and women should be treated the same because they can do the same.
Slang in the sense of informal communication is an essential element to the society displayed in A Streetcar Named Desire. Throughout the play, there were a lot of abbreviations and slang terminology used when communicating amongst one another. In some sense, their use of not only slang, but local slang, help identify them as a whole in a community. Their form of communication towards one another, even simply words they use such as dandy, helps identify and create a sense of belonging in their town. Through the use of social media and our modern society and communication online, slang has taken over and evolved the language youth communicate with. Although slang is considered informal and a non-proper way to communicate, it demonstrates the way in which our society is able to adapt to certain changes.
Racism has been an issue in society for many years. Throughout A Streetcar Named Desire, the way that certain people are portrayed and even some comments that are said would not be accepted if they were written today. Firstly, there are many different characters present, however the only one without a name is the colored woman. This shows that people of color were not shown as important or relevant in these times. There were also many comments that in a way made fun of someone's race and how they looked. This was very common in those times and in their community, so for them, racist remarks were just second nature. This relates to what is happening nowadays as people are committing horrific acts towards people that they have never met before due to their race and ethnic background. Although nothing harmful or deadly happened to diverse people in the play, the intentions are still not in the right place and are taken badly. Racism has been greatly improved over the years, however, there are still many people with closed minds.
Mental illness is something on the rise within youth in our society today and a very prominent theme in A Streetcar Named Desire. The most common examples of mental illness was seen through a lot of Blanche's actions and state of mind. She was always very difficult to talk to since everyone was afraid of the way she would react since she was very impulsive. It was very evident that her sister, as well as Stanley, were becoming aware of her mental state since they would always help her out when she was very stressed out. Not only was mental illness shown in the play, but it is increasing significantly in our society today. As seen in the play and in real life examples, mental illness is an extremely important issue to address and take care of since it can cause serious damage to those around us.